Hi everyone. So for most French language learners, you already know that in French you have two ways to say you. You have vous and you have tu. And the vous is formal, whereas tu is informal. And it can be quite difficult to know when to use vous and when to use tu. So in this video, I'd like to explain some tips that might be able to help you to know when to use which you and to hopefully help you have more confidence when you're using your French. So right off the bat, I've been in France now for almost 8 years and I still have some difficulty sometimes deciding if I should use vous or tu. And just to reassure you, the French also run into this problem quite often, so rest assured that it's not only foreigners that have this trouble, but even the French themselves sometimes do not know whether they should use vous or tu. So for my first tip, I would say, when in doubt, use vous. It's best to use vous, even if perhaps tu would have been okay. And that way you're being formal and there's no way that you're going to really offend the person. And the person will probably tell you you can use tu. And then when the person tells you that, then you switch to tu. So for starters, let's take vous for example and see in which cases are we going to tend to use vous instead of tu. So vous being the formal you, we're going to use this with people that we do not know, when we're asking them for directions, when we are in a store or in a restaurant and we're talking with the people working there, we're going to use vous because the formal you is what is used in professional context or also in context when we don't necessarily know the person. We're also going to use vous with elderly people, or not necessarily elderly, but people that are 15 to 20 years older than you. Normally in that instance, we're going to use vous as a sign of respect. Some other instances where you're going to use vous is at work with people that are of seniority with you. So if it's perhaps your boss or your boss's boss, in some cases you're going to use vous. Nowadays in France, tu is often used with colleagues that you know very well, even if they may have a higher position than you. In most cases, we're going to use tu in the office context, but there are some instances where somebody of high stature in the company or in the office will insist on you using vous. So once again, if you start a new job in France in the office, use vous with everybody. And normally they'll tell you right off the bat what their company policy is, and if they say we typically use tu, then you can go ahead and use tu right off the bat. But if not, if there hasn't been any indication on what the company policy is, use vous, and slowly but surely people will tell you to switch to tu. I worked for a company where everybody used tu, and even the CEO of the company was using tu. We were using tu with the CEO of the company. So it all depends on the context of the office. And once again, when in doubt, use vous. Now here are some examples of when we're going to use the informal you, tu. So we use tu with kids that are generally younger than 18, 20. We're going to use tu. Obviously, we're going to use tu with our friends or with our girlfriend or boyfriend. Tu is reserved for informal relationships, so definitely friends, colleagues that we've been working with, children. As a rule of thumb, we always use tu if with any kid that's younger than 18 or 16, we can say. We'll definitely use tu. With animals, so dogs or cats or any pets, we always use tu. It would be very awkward and strange to hear somebody use vous with an animal, so unless they're talking to several animals. Obviously vous is also the plural you, so it's both formal you, singular, and plural you. So if you're talking to several different people or animals, then vous would also be used. But if we're talking in the context of formal versus informal, always use the informal tu with your pets and other animals. But all in all, what has been most reassuring for me since my 8 years of living in France and learning French for the past 18 years now is the fact that even the French themselves sometimes aren't exactly sure if they should use vous or if they should use tu. So rest assured, you're not alone. Even the French themselves, they have this problem sometimes. When in doubt, use vous. It's polite, it's formal. Here's some helpful vocabulary for you when you're speaking with people on the subject of whether to use vous or tu. So, as I said, as a general rule of thumb, you start with vous when you have a doubt. And normally the person, if they prefer that you use tu, the informal you, normally they can say, tu peux me tutoyer. Tutoyer means to use the informal you with somebody. It's the verb that's used. And you also have the verb vous voyez. Vous voyez literally means to use the formal vous with somebody. So if somebody says, tu peux me tutoyer, that literally means you can use the informal tu with me. Now, there's also a common sentence that we say when we want to suggest to the person to whom we're talking that it might be better to switch to tu, or that it would be easier if we speak in the informal you. So what you can say is, est-ce qu'on peut se tutoyer? Which means, can we use the informal tu with one another? Or you can also say, ça vous embête si on utilise tu? Or ça vous embête si je dis tu? Or si je vous tutoie? Voilà. Those are some common phrases that you will hear and that you can use. So two very good verbs, vous voyez and tutoyer. Se vous voyez is the reflexive and se tutoyer is the reflexive. So I'll also write those in the description below, and any other vocabulary that I think might be useful for this given context. Alright guys, I hope this video was helpful for you. If I left anything out, or if you have any questions regarding when to use vous and when to use tu, please definitely leave a comment below and drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe as well if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.